Mia was an adventurous girl with a heart full of courage. At just 10 years old, she felt like the queen of her winter wonderland, where white-coated trees danced gracefully in the chilly breeze, and sparkling snowflakes fell from cloudy skies like tiny diamonds. Her home sat at the edge of the woods, a cozy little cabin that was her cherished retreat from the bustling world outside. Every day after school, Mia would strap on her bright red boots and throw on her favorite fluffy blue coat. With her trusty scarf wrapped tightly around her neck, she would venture into the snowy woods that seemed to stretch endlessly before her. She loved losing herself in nature's beauty, bringing along her sketchbook to capture the enchanting sights and sounds around her. If you enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe for more. And tell me where you are watching from today. I always find it awesome to see where all my viewers are watching from. Let's get back to the video. Mia often imagined herself as a fearless explorer, discovering magical creatures hiding behind snow-covered bushes or gliding across frozen streams. With each step, she felt like she was weaving a story of adventure and enchantment. It was during one of these excursions that Mia's kindness would be tested in ways she could never have anticipated. As she wandered deeper into the woods one crisp afternoon, she marveled at how sunlight reflected off the smooth, white blankets of snow. Suddenly, she heard a soft whimpering sound coming from nearby. Curiosity bubbled within her as she followed the noise like a thread pulling her closer. What could it be? A lost animal? Someone in trouble? With determination, Mia pushed through thick branches and scattered piles of snow until she stumbled upon something unexpected. Beneath a tall pine tree, partially buried under snowdrifts, lay a young boy who looked about her age. His dark hair contrasted sharply against the white around him, and his eyes glowed eerily even in the shadowed light of the forest. "Hello," Mia called out gently, trying not to startle him. "Are you okay?" The boy looked up at her with a mix of fear and relief shining in his unusual eyes. Mia's heart raced as she realized this was no ordinary encounter. She'd just found someone who needed help. Little did she know, this boy held secrets that could change their lives forever. The day had started like any other snowy afternoon, with Mia laughing and twirling through the glistening white landscape. The trees sparkled like they were dusted with diamonds, and the air was fresh and crisp. She marveled at the beauty around her while sketching the scene in her notebook, dreaming of magical adventures hidden in the shadows of the forest. As Mia continued her exploration, she suddenly paused. A soft sound drifted through the air, barely distinguishable from the whispering wind. It sounded like a cry for help. Mia's heart raced, not out of fear, but out of curious concern. Someone might need assistance. She quickly tucked her sketchbook under her arm and followed the sound, her bright red boots crunching loudly in the snow. "Hello?" she called, hoping her voice would reach whoever was in trouble. The faint cry echoed again, urging her forward. With each step, Mia felt a mix of excitement and worry. What could be waiting for her just beyond the next tree? Mia pushed through thick tendrils of snow-laden branches, her small hands brushing against the icy cold bark. The forest seemed to close around her as if it were holding its breath in anticipation of what lay ahead. The wind picked up slightly, rustling branches overhead and sending a shiver of expectation down her spine. After a few more steps, Mia spotted a dark shape partially hidden beneath a thick blanket of white. She hurried toward it, her eyes wide with determination. "Please let it be okay," she whispered to herself, urging her small legs to move faster. As she got closer, she realized it was a boy about her age, lying under the snow, his dark hair peeking out like a shadow among the bright white surroundings. Panic rushed through her as she knelt beside him. His eyes fluttered open, revealing an unusual glow that stole her breath away. "Can you hear me?" Mia asked softly. It was an odd sight, but her heart was bigger than her fear. She reached out to him, ready to offer help without knowing just how important this moment would become for both of them. Mia knelt beside the boy, her heart racing as she took in his frightened expression. He was shivering uncontrollably, his dark hair dusted with snowflakes that sparkled like tiny stars against the pale backdrop. She could see that he was cold and scared, and her instinct to help kicked in immediately. "Don't worry, I'm here to help you," Mia said reassuringly, reaching out to touch his shoulder. The warmth of her hand contrasted sharply with the biting cold surrounding them. "What's your name?" The boy blinked rapidly, his glowing eyes wide with surprise. "Ethan," he replied in a shaky voice, still trying to shake off the shock of being found. "I got lost in the snow." Mia felt a rush of sympathy for Ethan. "I'll get you out of here," she declared, determination filling her voice. She began to carefully brush away the snow that had trapped him, her small hands working quickly but gently. With each handful that she cleared away, she could see more of Ethan's pale face, which looked both fragile and resilient at the same time. "Thank you," he murmured as she continued to dig him out. Even in the chilly air, Mia could feel warmth radiating from him, a strange and comforting presence that made her want to help even more. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of digging, Mia managed to free Ethan from the pile of snow. He sat up slowly, his body trembling from the cold, but also from something deeper, a fear that lingered in his eyes. "Are you okay?" Mia asked, looking closely at him now that he was free. Ethan nodded slowly, but didn't say much more, his gaze drifting around them as if he expected something to emerge from the shadows. Mia noticed how he seemed different from other boys she had met. There was an air of mystery about him that fascinated her. "Let's get you warm," she said brightly, trying to lift his spirits. Without waiting for a response, she extended her hand to him. Despite his hesitation, Ethan took it and stood up shakily. Together, they began the trek back through the snowy woods, leaving behind the pile of snow that had hidden Ethan away for so long. Little did they know that this moment would set off a series of events neither could have imagined. As they walked cautiously through the snowy woods, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that Ethan was different. His pale skin stood out against the backdrop of white, almost ethereal in the dim light filtering through the trees. She glanced at him more closely, noticing how his unusual glowing eyes sparkled like embedded stars. Despite feeling worried for him, a sense of curiosity bubbled inside her. Who was this boy who seemed to hold secrets as deep as the forest itself? "What happened to you?" Mia asked gently, trying to break the silence. Ethan hesitated, looking down at the snow beneath their feet, as if grappling with what to say. The strange glow in his eyes flickered slightly, causing Mia's heart to skip a beat. I don't remember much," he finally admitted. "I was playing near my home when everything went white, and then—" He trailed off, a distant look in his gaze. Mia felt a knot of concern twist in her stomach. Playing near his home, was he lost? She wanted to help him more than anything, but she didn't know how far they were from safety or what secrets lay hidden within his past. "You should come to my cabin," she suggested cheerfully, hoping to lighten the mood. "It's warm there, and I can make us some hot cocoa." Ethan managed a small smile at the thought of cocoa, but still looked troubled. "What if they find me?" he whispered, glancing nervously over his shoulder as if expecting someone to appear from between the trees. "Who will?" Mia asked, her brow furrowing in concern. "You're safe with me." Ethan glanced up at her with those glowing eyes. There was something almost magical about them that made Mia feel both enchanted and wary. It was hard to explain why she found herself drawn to him. It was as if there was an invisible thread tying their fates together. "I don't want to be found," Ethan replied softly, a hint of fear lacing his words. That sent chills down Mia's spine. She sensed there were layers to Ethan that were just waiting to be revealed. Layers she needed to uncover in order to truly understand who he was and why he had been hiding in the snow. As they continued walking through the woods, Mia felt the need to know more about Ethan. The snow crunched beneath their feet, but the silence between them was heavy with unspoken questions. She glanced at him, noticing the way his glowing eyes flickered with uncertainty, as if he were wrestling with memories he couldn't quite grasp. "Ethan, where do you come from?" Mia asked gently, hoping to coax him into sharing more. "You said you were playing near your home. What's it like there?" Ethan's expression grew somber, and he hesitated before answering. "I lived in a castle, far away in the dark lands," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's not like this place. It's cold and gloomy." Mia listened intently, her imagination running wild at the thought of a dark castle hidden in an unknown land. "A castle? That sounds amazing. But why were you trying to escape?" she pressed, curiosity piquing her interest. Ethan's face fell, shadows creeping into his features. "I didn't want to stay there anymore," he confessed. "There are things I can't talk about. My father is the king of the vampires." Mia's breath caught in her throat. She had heard stories of vampires, but never thought they could be real. Ethan's words sent shivers down her spine, a mix of fear and wonder bubbling inside her. "Are you a vampire too?" she asked hesitantly. He nodded slowly, his glowing eyes reflecting a mix of sadness and fear. "I am the king's heir. I was trapped in the castle, but I wanted to be free, to see the world outside." Mia felt a rush of empathy for Ethan. Here was a boy who had lived under the weight of expectation and darkness, longing for something as simple as freedom and warmth. "You must be really brave," she said earnestly. "I can't imagine what it's like to be stuck in a place like that." Ethan smiled weakly at her words, grateful for her kindness. "Thank you for helping me," he whispered. "I just wanted to find a way out and be normal like everyone else." Mia's heart softened even more as they walked side by side through the sparkling snow, realizing that beneath the surface of Ethan's story lay an extraordinary adventure waiting to unfold, a friendship that would bridge their two very different worlds. As they walked deeper into the woods, Mia noticed the shadows beginning to stretch as the sun dipped lower in the sky. A chill ran through her, and she turned to Ethan with a determined expression. "We need to get somewhere warm. My cabin isn't far from here. You'll be safe there." Ethan looked uncertain, glancing around as though he expected someone to emerge from the trees. "But what if—" he started, his voice trailing off. "Don't worry, it's just a cozy little place where I live," Mia reassured him with a bright smile. "I promise it's warm and safe, and I can make us some hot cocoa." The thought of steaming mugs filled with rich chocolate seemed to lighten the mood, and Ethan managed a small smile in return. Mia led the way, her heart pounding with excitement at the idea of helping her new friend. She felt proud to be offering him comfort after all he had been through. As they trudged through the snow, she pointed out familiar landmarks, The big oak tree with branches like arms reaching for the sky, the frozen pond where she often skated in winter, and imagined how much fun Ethan would have exploring these places. Finally, they reached her cabin. Nestled snugly among tall trees that swayed gently in the wind. Smoke curled lazily from the chimney, and golden light spilled from the windows like warmth inviting them in. Mia pushed open the door and stepped inside, immediately enveloped by heat and the comforting scent of pine. "Welcome to my home," she exclaimed, looking back at Ethan. He stepped inside cautiously, taking in his surroundings with wide eyes. The cabin was simple but filled with warmth. Colorful blankets draped over furniture and family photos lining the walls. Mia rushed to start a fire in the fireplace, while Ethan stood still for a moment, absorbing everything around him. He had never entered a place like this before. It felt foreign, yet comforting at once. "Sit down. I'll get us some cocoa," Mia said cheerfully as she moved about the kitchen. She filled 2 mugs with milk and cocoa powder, stirring until it was perfectly smooth. While waiting for it to cool, she glanced back at Ethan, who was now sitting on a wooden chair by the fire. His glowing eyes reflected flickers of light from the flames, creating an almost magical aura around him. Unaware of his royal lineage or his hidden past as a vampire heir, Mia simply saw a boy who needed kindness and safety. A boy she hoped would find a home in her friendship and warmth. As Mia poured the steaming hot cocoa into 2 mugs, the sweet aroma filled the cabin, creating a cozy atmosphere that made her feel even more at home. She handed 1 mug to Ethan, who accepted it with trembling hands, his fingers barely able to wrap around the warm ceramic. "Thank you," he whispered, glancing up at her with gratitude shining in his unusual eyes. Mia smiled back, happy to help him feel better after their chilly adventure in the woods. However, as Ethan took a sip of the cocoa, Mia noticed a flicker of discomfort cross his face. "Are you okay?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice. Ethan hesitated, looking down into his mug as if searching for answers in the swirling chocolate. I don't feel well," he admitted softly. "It's hard to explain." Mia frowned slightly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You can tell me. I want to help," she urged gently. He sighed deeply, the weight of his unusual condition pressing down on him like the heavy snow outside. "Being different is hard," he finally said. "Sometimes I feel weak, especially when I'm away from home. I think it's because of what I am." "Different? Like how?" Mia asked, her curiosity piqued. She wanted to understand him better, to make him feel safe and accepted in her little world. Ethan looked up at her, his glowing eyes shimmering in the firelight. "I'm not like other kids," he explained hesitantly. "I have to be careful about what I eat and how much sunlight I get. It's not just normal stuff." He paused, swallowing hard as if the words were difficult to say. "Sometimes, when I get too cold or too far from my home, I feel weak and dizzy." Mia listened intently, her heart aching for him. She knew that everyone was different in their own way, but had never encountered someone who faced such unique challenges. "I'm glad you told me," she said sincerely. "You're safe here, Ethan. You can rest and warm up by the fire." He managed a small smile, grateful for her kindness and understanding. "Thank you for being so nice to me," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia smiled back and took a sip of her cocoa, feeling a sense of warmth spread through her, not just from the drink, but from the bond they were starting to form. In that moment, she realized that no matter how different Ethan might be, he deserved friendship and safety just like anyone else. and she was determined to be there for him. As Mia and Ethan enjoyed their cocoa and warmed by the fire, the atmosphere outside took a dark turn. Thick clouds began to roll into the sky, dimming the afternoon light and casting shadows over the snow-covered landscape. The cheerful chirping of birds ceased abruptly, leaving an eerie silence that crept into the cozy cabin. Unbeknownst to Mia, a sense of urgency hung in the air as figures appeared on the horizon, moving through the trees with determined speed. They trampled through the snow, calling out names that echoed eerily in the quiet woods. "Ethan! Ethan!" Their voices sang like a haunting melody. Inside, Mia continued chatting with Ethan, blissfully unaware that danger was drawing closer. She laughed at his stories about the castle and how he had dreamed of freedom. Little did she know that freedom came with a price and a royal lineage he couldn't escape. Outside, the dark clouds churned ominously overhead, foreshadowing trouble ahead. The figures were cloaked in shadow, their intentions unclear, but unmistakably focused on one thing: finding Ethan at any cost. These were not ordinary searchers. They were loyal servants of his father, the vampire king who ruled over the dark lands Ethan had fled. "I'm so glad I found you," Mia said earnestly, completely oblivious to what loomed outside her door. "You've got a place here now. You'll never have to go back to that old castle." Ethan's expression turned serious as he considered her words. Suddenly, an uneasy feeling settled deep in his stomach when he thought about his father's relentless pursuit. He could already feel the heavy weight of expectations bearing down on him once more. "Camilla," he started, guilt flooding his chest for not being honest enough about himself. But before he could explain, a loud crack of thunder erupted outside as if mirroring his internal conflict. Mia jumped slightly at the sound, but quickly brushed it off as just another winter storm brewing. "Let's not let some thunder ruin our fun," she exclaimed brightly. Just as they settled back into light banter and laughter inside the cabin, Ethan's heart raced faster at each subsequent call that rang out through the woods. Call after call that brought him closer to an unavoidable confrontation with his past. Little did Mia realize that their comforting moment was about to be disrupted by forces from Ethan's life that neither of them was ready to face. The shadows gathering outside promised trouble ahead, leaving both children at a crossroads where choices would need to be made. But for now, they remained blissfully unaware of what was coming for them both. As the cozy cabin filled with the warmth of the fire and the sweet scent of cocoa, Mia and Ethan began to relax and enjoy each other's company. Laughter bubbled between them as they swapped stories of their adventures. Mia shared tales of her explorations in the snowy woods, describing secret paths she had discovered and the hidden glades where she imagined fairies danced among the flowers in spring. Ethan listened intently, captivated by her enthusiasm. "You really love exploring, don't you?" he asked, his glowing eyes reflecting admiration. "I've always wanted to see more of the world outside my castle, but I was never allowed to go far." "Then let's explore together," Mia exclaimed, her blue eyes shining with excitement. "There's so much out there. We can build forts in the snow or look for animal tracks." The thought of sharing adventures thrilled her. Ethan's heart warmed at the idea. A part of him longed for that freedom he had only dreamed about while trapped in his dark home. "We could find hidden caves, or maybe even discover magical places," he added, his imagination igniting with possibilities. Mia grinned widely. "Exactly. I know a few secret spots we could check out. Just wait until you see the frozen pond. It's beautiful." Ethan felt a surge of happiness as they spoke about potential adventures. For a brief moment, he forgot about his worries and fears. He was just a boy making plans with a friend, something he had never experienced before. "Can we make it an adventure every week?" Ethan asked hopefully, feeling a sense of normalcy he had longed for. Of course, we can be like explorers on a quest. Mia replied enthusiastically, already envisioning their future escapades. And if you ever feel weak or need to rest, we can take breaks. There's no rush. Ethan nodded, feeling grateful for her understanding nature. It was comforting to know that Mia accepted him for who he was without judgment. As their plans unfolded over mugs of cocoa and laughter, an unspoken bond deepened between them. A friendship rooted in shared dreams and understanding. They were two souls from different worlds, coming together through their love for adventure. Yet outside, dark clouds loomed ominously overhead as distant voices called out Ethan's name, signaling that their newfound bond would soon face its greatest test. For now, however, they remained wrapped in warmth and hope. Two adventurers ready to embrace whatever came next together. As Mia and Ethan continued to enjoy their cozy afternoon, the atmosphere shifted outside the cabin. The light flickering through the windows dimmed, and an unsettling feeling crept into the air. Unbeknownst to them, shadows began to move silently among the trees just beyond the reach of the cabin's warm glow. The figures lurking in the snowy woods were cloaked in dark garments, their intentions clear as they searched for one thing: Ethan. They were loyal servants of the Vampire King, sent to retrieve the heir who had escaped from his castle. With each step they took, the crunch of snow beneath their boots sounded like a drumbeat of impending danger. Inside, Mia laughed at a funny story Ethan shared about his imagined adventures beyond the castle walls, but her laughter was suddenly interrupted by a distant rustling that caught her attention. She glanced out of the window, squinting into the fading light as shadows flitted between tree trunks. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. Ethan's face paled as he turned toward the sound. Memories flooded back. The fear of being found by his father's servants gripped him like icy fingers around his heart. "Mia," he whispered urgently, "we need to hide." Before she could respond, Ethan jumped up from his seat and rushed toward a nearby closet filled with blankets and winter gear. He quickly motioned for Mia to follow him. The jovial atmosphere was suddenly replaced with tension as they scrambled to conceal themselves. Mia's eyes widened in alarm as they huddled together inside the closet, wrapped in thick blankets. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Ethan leaned close and explained in a hushed tone. "They're looking for me because I left home. I can't let them find me here." Mia felt a wave of protectiveness wash over her. "You're safe with me. We'll figure this out together," she assured him softly. Outside, the servants closed in on the cabin, their voices low but urgent as they called out Ethan's name. "He's close. We must find him before night falls." The chilling words sent shivers down Ethan's spine and made Mia grip his hand tightly. As they listened to the mounting tension outside their hiding place, both kids realized that their bond was being tested just as it had begun to grow strong. They were no longer just two children sharing cocoa. They were now swept into a whirlwind of danger and uncertainty that would shape their adventure together. One that neither had anticipated when they first met in the snow. As Mia and Ethan huddled in the closet, the distant voices of the Vampire King's servants grew louder, filled with urgency and determination. Ethan's heart raced, and he felt a surge of panic. "What are we going to do?" he whispered urgently, glancing at Mia, whose brave spirit seemed to shine even in their darkest moment. Mia took a deep breath, trying to think clearly despite the fear creeping into her heart. "We need a plan," she said, her voice steadying as she looked into Ethan's glowing eyes. "If they find us here, it will be dangerous for both of us." Ethan nodded, his mind racing. We could try to sneak out the back door while they're distracted, he suggested. But I don't know how far we'll get before they notice. Let's not just run blindly, Mia replied, her brow furrowing in thought. We need to outsmart them. If we can create a distraction, we might have more time to escape. Ethan considered this, his mind turning over possibilities. What if we make noise away from the cabin? Maybe we can lead them in the wrong direction. Mia's eyes lit up with a spark of inspiration. That could work. I have some old pots and pans in the kitchen. If we can lure them away with noise, we can slip out while they investigate. Great idea, Ethan exclaimed, feeling a renewed sense of hope. I can help you grab them. Just let me know when. Once Mia felt ready for action, they quietly crept out of the closet, peeking through the cabin window to see if any shadows lingered nearby. The figures were still focused on their search around the cabin, their voices echoing through the trees. Now's our chance, Mia whispered excitedly as she darted toward the kitchen. Ethan followed close behind, his heart pounding as they gathered the pots and pans. Mia picked up a heavy pan and held it tightly. On 3, she said, determination shining in her eyes. 1, 2, 3. With a swift motion, she banged the pot against another pan, creating a loud clattering sound that echoed through the woods like a thunderclap. The noise drew immediate attention from outside as the servants turned sharply toward the source. Quick, let's go, Ethan urged as they darted toward the back door, adrenaline fueling their movements. They slipped outside just as the servants began to move toward the noise. Outside in the cold air, Mia and Ethan exchanged glances filled with both fear and exhilaration. They were about to face an unknown world together, a world where they would need each other more than ever to navigate through danger and uncertainty. Steeling themselves for whatever lay ahead, they took off into the snowy woods, determined to escape the shadows that pursued them. As Mia and Ethan bolted into the snowy woods, breaths coming in short gasps, adrenaline surged through their veins. The chilling wind whipped around them, but Mia's determination burned brighter than the cold. She could hear the distant calls of the Vampire King's servants behind them, and each shout sent a fresh wave of fear racing through Ethan. Follow me, Mia urged, glancing back to make sure he was close. I know some shortcuts that can help us stay out of sight. Ethan nodded, his eyes wide with trust, as he focused on keeping pace behind her. They darted between trees, weaving through the thickets that formed natural barriers against anyone chasing them. Mia let her intuition guide them down a well-worn trail known only to her, a path hidden from prying eyes and thickly covered by sprawling branches. Here, she said suddenly, leading Ethan to a hollow beneath a large boulder. They ducked inside just as they heard footsteps crunching closer in the snow. The servants were searching meticulously, their voices low but filled with intensity. Mia pressed her finger to her lips, signaling for Ethan to be silent. The two huddled together in silence. Mia felt Ethan's warmth seep into her from their close proximity, comforting amidst their plight. After several minutes that felt like hours, the voices moved farther away. They're gone, she whispered finally. We need to keep moving. She led him out of their hiding spot and back onto the path, feeling exhilarated at having successfully evaded capture. For now. As they climbed up a gentle slope, blanketed in soft snow, Mia pointed toward an old tree she remembered climbing earlier that winter. I bet if we climb up there, we can see where they went, she suggested quietly. Ethan's expression brightened briefly at the idea of an adventure within their predicament. Gripping onto the sturdy branches, They scrambled up together until they reached a branch high enough to overlook the surrounding area without being fully exposed. From their vantage point, they could see two of the figures scouring beneath them, while others fanned out in different directions, clearly seeking any signs of Ethan's presence. "I didn't realize how close they were," Ethan murmured, his gaze filled with concern as he watched them move below. "What if they find us?" "We'll outsmart them," Mia replied confidently as she examined their surroundings from above. Her mind raced with ideas. There had to be a safer way to move through these woods without being caught again. "Trust me," she added with determination sparkling in her eyes. "We just have to stay smart and stick together." With determination building inside both of them and trust blossoming through adversity, they descended from their perch and prepared themselves for whatever lay ahead, ready to continue using clever thinking and bravery to navigate through the treacherous snowy woods together. As Mia and Ethan navigated deeper into the snowy woods, they stumbled upon an ancient tree that stood majestically among the others. Its gnarled branches stretched high into the sky, and its trunk was wide enough to comfortably fit both children behind it. What caught their attention, however, were the intricate carvings etched into the bark, glimmering faintly in the low light. "Look at this," Mia exclaimed, moving closer to examine the designs. The carvings depicted swirling patterns and figures that resembled animals and mythical creatures engaged in a dance. "It looks like there are stories hidden in these markings." Ethan stepped beside her, awe written across his face. As he traced his fingers over some of the carvings, a strange warmth surged through him. He felt an odd connection to them, as if they were whispering secrets about his lineage, secrets he had yet to uncover. "What do you think it means?" Mia asked, tilting her head as she studied Ethan's reaction. "I don't know," Ethan said slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I feel something here. Like this tree knows who I am." His eyes widened as he continued to explore the carvings, recognizing symbols that seemed vaguely familiar from tales told in dark corners of his castle. As Mia joined him in tracing the lines, she felt a shiver run down her spine. "These look like symbols of protection," she noted thoughtfully. "Perhaps it's like a hidden magic that can help you." Ethan nodded, feeling both fear and hope swell within him. What if this is about my family, about who I am? He could hardly contain his emotions as realizations began to dawn on him. Mia encouraged him with supportive words. "Then let's figure it out together. There might be more clues here about your past." She scanned the surrounding area for anything else noteworthy, while maintaining her grip on Ethan's hand, a gesture of reassurance amidst their uncertainty. Suddenly, they heard faint voices ringing through the trees again, servants of the Vampire King growing nearer with each passing moment. Their urgent calls sent a jolt of fear through both children. "We can't stay here," Mia urged urgently. "But we can remember what we saw. This tree might lead us to discover more about your family later. Let's keep moving." With resolve hardening in their hearts, they took one last look at the ancient tree before dashing back into the woods. As they ran forward with bravery fueling their escape, Ethan felt a flicker of hope rekindle within him. Perhaps there was more to his story than he ever imagined, and together with Mia by his side, he would uncover truths long buried in shadows. After narrowly escaping the searchers, Mia and Ethan pressed on through the snowy woods, their hearts still racing from adrenaline. The ancient tree and its carvings lingered in their minds, sparking curiosity about Ethan's lineage and the life he had left behind. As they walked, the landscape shifted slightly. The trees became denser, and a sense of timelessness enveloped them. "Do you think there are more secrets in your family's history?" Mia asked, breaking the silence. She could feel how important this journey was for Ethan and wanted to help him uncover his past. Ethan sighed, his usual spark dimmed by uncertainty. I hope so. I've always felt like there was something special about my family. But all I know is that being a vampire heir comes with responsibilities. Ones I never wanted, he confessed, glancing down at the snow beneath his feet. Mia looked at him curiously. What kind of responsibilities? He paused for a moment before responding. Well, being a royal means you have to follow strict rules and expectations. You're supposed to act a certain way and represent your family honorably. It's like being trapped in a facade. His voice carried both frustration and sadness. Mia listened carefully, her heart aching for him. That sounds really hard. It must be lonely, she said gently. It is, Ethan replied quietly, the weight of his thoughts heavy on his shoulders. I've always dreamed of freedom, of living like a normal kid without all the pressure of royalty looming over me. Mia felt a surge of determination as she squeezed his hand reassuringly. You deserve that freedom, and you can have it. We'll find a way together. As they continued walking, Mia noticed a glimmer of hope flicker back into Ethan's eyes. Do you really think we can? He asked, looking at her with renewed interest. Absolutely, she exclaimed, her voice brightening as new ideas began to form in her mind. We can discover your family history together. Maybe those carvings hold more clues about who you are and what you might be able to do. Ethan felt warmth spread through him. Mia's belief in him gave him strength he hadn't realized he needed. They began discussing possibilities, what it would mean for Ethan to embrace his identity rather than run from it. And with each word, they wove dreams for their future adventures. We'll uncover your past one step at a time, Mia said confidently. No matter what happens, we'll figure it out together. As they moved deeper into the woods, an unspoken understanding blossomed between them. This journey was not just about escaping danger anymore. It was also about discovering who Ethan truly was and carving out a path that could lead him toward freedom. A path filled with friendship and adventure that neither had ever anticipated would unfold amongst the snowy trees. As Mia and Ethan made their way through the thickening trees, a sense of safety settled over them. They felt a renewed bond, their earlier fears momentarily forgotten as they discussed their plans for uncovering Ethan's past. The branches overhead swayed gently in the cold wind, creating a soothing sound that matched the rhythm of their footsteps. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A silence enveloped them, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Ethan stopped in his tracks, a chill running down his spine. Mia, he whispered uneasily, I think we're not alone. Before Mia could respond, a powerful voice echoed through the woods, sending shivers through both children. Ethan, you cannot hide from me any longer. Fear gripped Mia's heart as she turned to Ethan, who looked pale and terrified. That's my father, he breathed, eyes wide with dread. The Vampire King is here. Mia's instincts kicked in, and she grabbed Ethan's hand tightly. We need to find somewhere to hide, she urged, scanning the landscape for cover while adrenaline surged through her. The voice grew nearer, resonating with authority. You will return to your home, my son. You do not understand the dangers you face out here. Ethan trembled at the thought of facing his father. I can't go back. I want to be free. I want to live without the weight of being a prince. His determination flickered like a candle in the wind. Mia could see the conflict in his eyes, the pull between duty and desire, and knew they had to act quickly. She spotted a cluster of dense bushes nearby and urged him toward it. "Quickly! We can hide there!" They ducked behind the bushes, just as shadows fell upon them. The Vampire King emerged into view, tall and imposing, his presence darkening the surrounding area. His sharp features were set with determination as he surveyed the woods like a predator searching for prey. "Ethan," he called again, frustration tinging his voice. "You cannot escape your destiny. You are meant to rule beside me." From their hiding spot, Mia felt Ethan stiffen beside her. "He doesn't understand," she whispered fiercely. "You have a right to choose your own path." The king's gaze swept across the snowy landscape, searching for any sign of his son. Mia could feel Ethan's fear rising again, but squeezed his hand reassuringly. "No matter what happens, we're in this together," she promised. As they listened to the king's frustrated shouts fade into the distance, Mia knew that time was running out. They had to come up with a plan, not only to escape, but also to confront the truths about Ethan's past, and perhaps redefine what it meant to be a prince in his own right. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, ready to carve out their own destinies amidst the shadows of the forest. As Ethan and Mia crouched behind the bushes, hearts pounding with fear, they watched the imposing figure of the Vampire King searching for his son. The air around them felt tense, thick with anticipation and dread. When the king's frustrated calls pierced through the silence of the woods, Mia glanced at Ethan and saw the turmoil in his eyes. "Ethan, stay close," she whispered, feeling an unexpected surge of bravery. "We can't let him take you back." Just then, the Vampire King turned sharply, his sharp features illuminated by a slant of fading light as he approached their hiding spot. "Ethan," he called out, his voice powerful and commanding. "You can't escape your destiny. Return to me now." Mia could see how Ethan tensed at the sound of his father's voice, a mixture of fear and defiance flickering across his face. "I won't go back," he said fiercely under his breath. In that moment, something inside Mia prompted her to act. She couldn't let Ethan face this alone. He deserved a chance at freedom. "You have to stand up for yourself," she urged quietly, squeezing his hand for support. With a deep breath and newfound determination coursing through her veins, Mia stepped out from behind the bushes, placing herself between Ethan and the Vampire King. "He's not going back with you," she declared boldly. The Vampire King paused, surprised by Mia's sudden appearance. "And who are you to interfere?" he asked with a mix of irritation and curiosity. "I'm just a person who believes everyone deserves to choose their own path. Ethan shouldn't have to follow someone else's expectations," Mia replied firmly, her heart racing but her resolve unwavering. Ethan watched in awe as Mia stood tall, ready to defend him against his father's authority. The king regarded her with a raised brow, intrigued by her bravery yet unyielding in his purpose. "You know nothing of our world," he retorted sharply. "He is destined to rule beside me. It is not merely a choice, it is his duty." "No," Mia countered passionately. "Ethan deserves to decide for himself what kind of life he wants. He shouldn't be trapped by someone else's idea of destiny." The tension hung heavily in the air as both sides faced off. The young girl fueled by courage and empathy against an ancient ruler steeped in tradition and expectation. Ethan felt a swell of gratitude for Mia's fierce defense. Her words ignited hope within him that perhaps he could break free from the chains of royalty that bound him. As the confrontation unfolded amidst the snowy trees, it became clear this was not just about physical freedom. It was about breaking free from expectations and carving out one's own identity. A fight neither Mia nor Ethan had anticipated, but were now fully committed to together. The tension in the air thickened as the Vampire King's frustration reached its peak. He stood tall, casting a long shadow over Mia and Ethan, who remained hidden behind the brush. The moment hung suspended like a fragile thread as the king's piercing gaze swept across the snowy landscape. "I will give you one chance to return, Ethan," he declared, his voice deep and resonant. "It is time for you to embrace your true identity as my son. You cannot avoid your responsibilities forever." Mia felt Ethan tense beside her, sensing his reluctance to comply with his father's commands. Gathering her courage, she stepped forward boldly, breaking the silence that enveloped them. "Ethan deserves a choice," she shouted, refusing to back down in the face of the king's authority. The Vampire King turned his attention to Mia, an eyebrow arched in surprise at her defiance. "And what do you know of his destiny?" he asked coolly, though there was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "I know that he deserves to decide what kind of life he wants," Mia replied fiercely. "No one should be forced into a role they don't want." Ethan watched Mia stand firm against his father. Her bravery filled him with a sense of hope and admiration. He had never seen anyone challenge the king like this before. But the king's expression hardened as he considered Mia's words. "Very well," he said slowly, voice laced with menace. "You are brave for a mere girl. I will give you a choice. Return my son to me now, or I will take him away forever and you will never see him again." Mia's heart raced at the gravity of his words. She knew that accepting the king's offer meant surrendering Ethan back into the life of servitude he feared so deeply. "I won't let that happen," she declared resolutely, clenching her fists at her sides. The Vampire King narrowed his eyes, assessing both Mia and Ethan's expressions before him. He carried an air of authority forged through centuries. But something stirred within him, a sense that there might be more at play in this encounter than mere duty and obligation. "Choosing freedom for him is noble," he said finally, his tone shifting slightly as if recognizing Mia's conviction. "But know this. Every choice has consequences." Ethan looked at Mia with new resolve. Her strength bolstered his courage in facing his father's overwhelming presence. They shared a glance filled with determination. Whatever path lay ahead would not be faced alone. With voices raised and hearts bold, they stood together against the looming shadows of royal expectations and destiny itself. Two allies bound by friendship, ready to redefine what it meant for Ethan to embrace both freedom and identity amidst their perilous adventure in the snowy woods. The air was thick with tension as Mia and Ethan braced themselves for the king's response. The Vampire King's eyes narrowed, assessing her with a mix of irritation and intrigue. "You are quite bold for a mere girl," he said, his voice steady but heavy with authority. "But know this. I will not allow you to lead my son astray." Mia stood her ground, feeling a surge of courage well up inside her. "Ethan deserves to make his own choices. You can't just decide his life for him." The king regarded her intently, contemplating her unwavering stance. "You think this is merely about choice? As his father, I am responsible for protecting him from the dangers that lurk outside your naive understanding." "I know what danger is," she replied fiercely. "Ethan has faced more than you realize. He deserves to live a life that is truly his own." For a moment, an unexpected silence fell between them, broken only by the whispering wind through the trees. Mia could feel Ethan's uncertainty beside her. He was torn between the pull of loyalty to his father and the yearning for freedom Mia had shown him. "Very well," the king said after a pause, his voice lowering ominously. "You have proven yourself both brave and foolish. I will offer you a choice." He stepped closer, towering over them with an almost palpable aura of authority. "Return Ethan to me now, and perhaps he can learn the wisdom of our lineage under my guidance. Or—" He paused dramatically, allowing his words to sink in. "I will take him away forever, and you will never see him again." Mia's heart raced at the weight of this ultimatum. The stakes felt impossibly high. She knew accepting the king's offer would mean returning Ethan to a life of servitude, everything they had fought against together. "No," she declared firmly, clenching her fists at her sides. "I won't let you take him back. He has every right to choose what kind of life he wants." Ethan looked at Mia with surprise and admiration, feeling bolstered by her fierce resolve. It was clear to him now. Mia truly believed in his right to choose his destiny. The Vampire King appeared taken aback by Mia's spirit, but quickly masked it with irritation. "Choosing freedom doesn't come without consequences," he warned sternly. "Maybe those consequences are worth it," Mia retorted bravely. "If freedom means being true to oneself and living authentically." With that declaration hanging in the air like an electric charge, both children understood they were at a pivotal moment. Not just in their confrontation, but in shaping their paths forward. Together, they faced the looming shadows of expectation, ready to claim their independence against all odds. In that tense moment filled with courage and determination, it became clear that freedom could be forged from friendship, the kind of bond that could withstand even the darkest forces determined to keep them apart. The tension in the air shifted as the Vampire King studied Mia and Ethan, his expression changing from irritation to something akin to respect. "You truly are brave, child," he acknowledged, slowly lowering his voice and softening his stance. "But bravery alone does not shield one from the complexities of our world." Mia held her breath, anticipating his next words. The king continued, "I will not take my son away just yet. Instead, I see potential in this moment." His gaze flickered between Mia and Ethan, measuring their resolve. "Perhaps you both can show me that there is value in your defiance." Ethan blinked in surprise at his father's unexpected reply. "What do you mean?" he asked, a mix of confusion and cautious hope in his voice. "Instead of simply returning to the castle or banishing him forever," the king explained, "I offer you both a chance. If Mia can prove herself worthy of an alliance with our family, then perhaps Ethan can remain free from expectation for now." Mia's mind raced with possibilities as she hesitated, weighing the significance of what the king was proposing. If she accepted this offer, it would not only protect Ethan, but also open doors they had never imagined were possible. "An alliance?" she asked cautiously. "What does that mean?" The king regarded her with intrigue. "It means working together to understand what a new future might look like. One where your ideals can coexist with our traditions," he said slowly. "Ethan must learn who he is supposed to be, while remaining free to explore his own choices." Ethan felt a surge of hope mixed with apprehension. Could this truly be a way for him to be himself? Mia glanced at him, sharing his uncertainty, but also recognizing the chances this opportunity provided. "I will accept your proposal," Mia responded firmly, meeting the king's gaze with unwavering confidence. "But know that Ethan deserves to be supported and celebrated as himself, not just as a royal puppet." The Vampire King nodded slightly, impressed by Mia's conviction. Very well then. We shall see if you can fulfill this role without losing sight of your principles. The air was charged with possibility as they all stood at an unexpected crossroads, an alliance forged through courage and determination. Ethan felt fortified by Mia's bravery. She had chosen to stand by him not only for friendship, but for freedom. Perhaps together, they could redefine what it meant to belong to a royal lineage while preserving their individuality. As the reality of their new path began to sink in, both Mia and Ethan knew this was merely the beginning of their journey. Not just in seeking answers about Ethan's past, but in shaping a future where they could carve out their identities amidst shadows of destiny and expectation. The days turned into weeks, and while the path ahead was uncertain, Mia and Ethan continued to strengthen their bond through shared adventures. The Vampire King allowed Ethan to visit Mia's cabin occasionally, showing a surprising openness to their friendship that transcended the rigid constraints of royal expectations. Each time Ethan arrived, it filled both their hearts with joy. They would explore the enchanting woods together, creating laughter and memories in the snowy realms. During one such visit, they sat by the warm glow of the fireplace inside Mia's cozy cabin. "You know," she began thoughtfully, stirring her hot cocoa, "I think it's wonderful that you can come here more often now." Ethan smiled, his glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. "I never thought I would get this chance," he admitted. "Being out here makes me feel free." Mia grinned back, excitement bubbling up within her as she envisioned a future where they could always share their lives without barriers. "We'll make a plan. You won't have to face your responsibilities alone anymore. We can tackle them together." "But what if my father doesn't accept that? He might still want me back," Ethan replied, his brow furrowing with worry. Mia leaned forward, determination gleaming in her eyes. "No matter what happens, you have the right to choose your own path, even if it means standing up to him again." Just then, a knock echoed at the door. Startled, both children turned at the sound. They exchanged curious glances before Mia cautiously opened it. To her surprise, standing there was the Vampire King himself. "Ethan," he said sternly, yet with an unexpected softness in his tone. "I've come to see how my son is doing." Ethan's heart raced as he stepped forward hesitantly. "Father," he began. But before he could finish, Mia bravely stepped beside him once more. "Your Majesty," she interjected with respect, but a firm challenge in her voice. "We've been discussing what freedom means for Ethan, and how friendship can help him discover who he truly is." The king looked between them, his eyes scrutinizing their expressions, filled with hope and determination. After a moment of silence, he sighed heavily, as if acknowledging something within himself. "I see you've both formed a bond that matters greatly," he admitted reluctantly. "Perhaps I've underestimated this connection." To Ethan's surprise and relief, the king's tone softened further as he declared, "If this friendship brings my son happiness and clarity on his journey, I will not stand in its way, provided he also acknowledges his heritage when necessary." Mia felt a rush of triumph as Ethan's eyes lit up with relief at his father's acceptance of their friendship. In that moment of unity, an alliance forged from understanding, both knew they were ready to bridge their two worlds together. As winter continued to blanket the landscape outside, Mia and Ethan began charting new territories, not only in the woods, but in themselves as well. A path toward adventure sprinkled with friendship and countless possibilities ahead, forever intertwining their destinies amid the enchanting snow-laden trees.